final signal that we look for at the end of a move is capitulation. There we have high volatility. So say here you can see it's a big step, and high volume. So the volume is given below the chart. So you can see that's the highest volume on this chart. I'll zoom back a bit. So we can see, we have a certain amount of volume, and then we had a bit of a jump over here. We had a jump or a peak here. So that was it was falling, and then we didn't know whether it was going to collapse from there, or had to make a decision. So we had a high volume day there. And over here we had a high volume. This is a slightly deceptive, because it looks like it was a high volume red day, that there was a lot of selling action. But if you actually zoom in again, so yes, we've had high volume, but you can see on that day it basically stayed flat. So it was trying to decide. It had just hit 10,000. So it jumped up all the way up to 11,500 and fell down all the way to 8,700-ish. So there was a lot of volatility there. But at the end of the day, it essentially stayed flat. So that's, it gives the false impression as if it was a big selling day. But we can see here, so, that was when we hit 20, we didn't actually hit 20,000, I don't think, but we came very close. We had a record high volume. Interestingly, a few days later, when it actually crossed 20,000, there. Does it say that here? But where it actually went higher than the previous time. I'm going to zoom back actually, because we can see the volume better in this plot, or if I zoom out to this level. So, here, as it jumped up to a new high, there was high volume. So there were a lot of people, as it was going up, more and more people were buying. I mean, it was a very busy day, but it was a big green day. So there were a lot of buyers, as it was going higher and higher even. While here, when we hit a new higher level, I'm going to check that here. So you can see here the high was 19,697, while here it was 19,891. Okay, so on this chart it didn't cross 20,000. But the volume was tiny. So this looks like a negative divergence. With the RSI, and I suppose with any technical indicator, what you can have is, like, say you have a trend, and the thing you're looking at, so I'll say it's a share, it keeps getting higher highs and higher lows. But even though we're getting higher highs, so the market seems to be supporting the share, the RSI doesn't, or isn't as positive. So the RSI actually seems to be less enthusiastic. So when you hit one high, the RSI managed to surge up to 75, And you're going, oh, that's great. Then it pulled back, and then the next surge up, it got to again 74, say. So it's still bullish. But in the third surge, you hit a new record high, but the RSI only manages to go up to 60. And that kind of suggests that maybe this round of enthusiasm has come to an end. And so that would be perhaps what this is saying, that where you had a higher high here, but there was very little volume. So this move, even though the Bitcoin price went up a lot and went down a lot, there was not much actual trading taking place. And interestingly, so it's fallen and fallen, and then this seems to be a support. So around about, say, 6,000, 5,900-ish. When it fell, it touched down to that level. So, that would have been in people's mind, like this seemed to be a support. Or it was a resistance. It was struggling to get away from it. Once you go above the resistance, it becomes a support. So this would then be hard to go down when you're on the way down. So when that bounced, that's supportive for the bulls. The people who thought that Bitcoins were going to crash would have hoped that this too would have fallen, and then their attention would have fallen to maybe 4,000 or 3,800. But that seems to have held. Again, it's only been a couple of days, so but that's encouraging. At least that held. You could also say here when it fell, that looks like roughly a 50% Fibonacci retracement, and that held. So that was, the first test of support, and you kind of go, okay, there is a foundation there, because this shot up so rapidly. I mean, it was an instant. At least by testing, these supports, you can kind of build up some confidence that, okay, it's okay. I know we got up to 20,000 very quickly, but there is belief out there. And so when it went up here again, tested the next level, that also held. Test this, that held, but you now don't want more lower lows, but you've had 1, 2, 3 impulses down. So now if it, settles down up to, say, 12,000 or something, it'll be calmer. That, okay, we'll have a little breather, and now we can build from here. The thing I wanted to point out here was, again, using the volume, because the volume is it's a key figure. It's, if only like $1 million was invested at a particular day, or on a particular day, and typically there's 100 million, like that you don't, that day when only $1 million was traded is more like it was a quiet day. It wasn't a really well-defined, well-established price. In contrast, it's the high volume days that have been up. I mean, so you have periods when it falls down, and then suddenly you have, and that's why I wanted to point out, okay, so this looks like, it's a record high volume day, but it was red. But I want to point out that, well, it wasn't really. It was flat. I mean, it even a tiny bit higher, and then it would have been green. So, I mean, the candle is essentially flat. While here, the busiest day so far was an up day. So it's as it's been going up, people are more going, well, this seems to really be have value, that people are buying into this. I don't want to miss out. So whatever these people were thinking, more money came in, more was invested in Bitcoins at this high level. People were happy with that. They were happy with the price action. In contrast, this period, when the price fell quite a bit, it was quite low volume. The people who had bought it are happy to have bought it, and maybe they're planning to hold on to that forever, or but they're more longer term than just buying and selling it the second there was any tremors. So it's encouraging for Bitcoin bulls that look how incredibly low the volume's been during this period. It hasn't been a panic, as you might think if you just saw the price action, because it's been very volatile. And then here we've just set a new record volume this here, and again that's green. Again, it's up. So the biggest volume days are the up days, which is supportive, suggestive of strength. We can also look at this with different time scales. So say we look at the weekly one, we can see it here again. The really high volume weeks are green. When the price fell from here to all the way down here, again we can see the volume was very low. And now that this seems to have formed a bottom, or this suggests a bottom, because we had very high volatility, high volume, and the candle is green. So using the candlestick trick, I'd want to be long here, put a stop loss below that, and put my take profit at double the length of this. So if this is 8,300, this is 6,000, say 6,000, so I'll say 10,000. Yeah, if you buy here, stop loss below that, look to get out at 10,000. Probably, given that this candle was solid big long candle, it's tempting to maybe just go for selling at 11,000, but it looks suggestive, or this is suggestive of a bottom, and paying attention to the volume gives us a far clearer picture. Now we'll see what actually happens.